Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Haunted America. Today's episode, we have one more longer ghost story for you guys found on Reddit. This one is posted by Reddit user Narrow Designer 4653, and the name of this story:
My friend claims she can see ghosts. Never believed her until now.
very intriguing. All this plus our thoughts and comments on this episode today. On this episode of
Haunted America.
Oh yeah. Before we get started with the podcast, if you guys would like to get your hands on some of the same equipment we use when we're out there investigating, check out the links down below to equipment such as spirit boxes, REM pods, and EVP recorders. These are just a few of the things that can help you get started with your own investigations. We do get a small commission every time you guys use one of our links.
And please rate and review on whatever platform you're listening on. It helps the algorithm and pushes us out to newer listeners. Also, if you would like your stories read on the show as part of America's Encounters, email us at hauntedamericapodcast@gmail.com. That's hauntedamericapodcast@gmail.com.
Now, let's get into the show. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, this one, once again, posted by Reddit user Narrow Designer 4653. And actually, this person is a top 1% poster.
Good job.
1,860 posts.
Wow.
That's crazy.
All right, this should be good.
This story, again, is my friend claims she can see ghosts. Never believed her until now. She's my longest and oldest friend since 5th grade, and has always claimed she is a psychic medium who can see and talk to ghosts. Everywhere she went, she said she could see them. Sometimes they're just shadows, sometimes just a presence, sometimes a full-blown apparition. The one I remember the most was a ghost named Jim, or something, who was an old man, who she said she would see in her closet. Not malevolent or anything. To me, that was creepy as hell. But she always seemed unfazed. As a kid, I believed it, but then I grew out of it and assumed she did too. I moved states and didn't see each other for a couple years, until I went to visit for the summer, and we reunited.
We were sitting in the living room watching TV and catching up, when I popped the question jokingly, "Any ghosts around?" She said there were a couple, but the one that caught her attention most was an old lady outside my mom's bedroom. Yeah, right, I'm going in my head. I'm a firm believer in science, psychology, and logic. I also believe that the human brain is powerful and loves to play tricks on us as projections of our own fears. I've always taken people's experiences with a respectful nod and grain of salt.
I humor her. I ask her for details. She says she's some older woman from Texas. She might be related to my mom and she's a Native American. I realize that this brief description fit my dead Nana. But that's probably a coincidence. We're in Texas. Everyone has a dead grandma, and she knows my mom is part Native. I ask her specifically questions, and she gets them all correct. The name of her husband, how long I knew her before she died, the gift she gave me as a baby, which of her children are dead or alive. My final straw was when I pointed to a portrait on the wall with her kids and asked her which of those girls was a party goer who always got in trouble, and she got it right.
At this point, I'm properly spooked, but I'm still in denial. I've known her for a while. Is there no chance she stumbled across an old picture album? Overheard a conversation with my mom and I about her? Hell, what if I told her myself and just forgot? We've known each other for 8 years. There's no chance I've forgotten some conversations from then. She tells me there's another ghost who is a man who wants to communicate. I ask him a variety of questions, pushing aside my slight unease as I'm thoroughly entertained by this whole ordeal. Either she's lying and really committed and I want to see how far I can push her, or she's telling the truth and we're actually talking to a ghost. I'm asking questions like, how old was she when he died? When did he die? What did he do when he was alive? I even jokingly asked what his type was and if he was single. We stop talking for a bit and are messing around on our phones in silence, looking down and not in each other's peripheral vision.
I suddenly get this unexplicable chill on the right side of my neck, which I ignore, chalking it up to some kind of breeze or mental thing. It was so minuscule and obsolete to me. I had no reaction or even looked up from my phone. I will say it felt different than the usual chill. It was almost concentrated, like something icy pressed against me. Then she looks up at me and verbatim says, "I just got an image in my mind of him touching your neck." She mimics the motion. It's the same side and spot right beneath my jaw, and my heart sank to my butt. The sheer coincidence of the placement, the action, the previous shit before this, I genuinely was so freaked out. And while it's not as major or scary as other people's stories, it's enough for me to question my beliefs. I still am kind of a skeptic. I chalk most things up to be just figments of our imagination, but I take people's stories more seriously now.
A lot of people who fake being mediums and psychics usually do it for attention or money. But my friend gets nothing from it. In fact, she has a very much annoyed, just ignore it attitude. This is what makes me think she might not be lying. She doesn't want anything from it. She actually doesn't talk about it a lot. She's not trying to creep anyone out at all. Campfire? What? She's not trying to creep anyone out at all. Campfire. Okay. I don't know why that word's there. She's not trying to get internet fame or scam some people into buying a palm reading at a little table. It's just something she lives with. And goddamn, what a shitty thing to live with if she actually does.
So, yeah, I have some things to add to this.
I'll bet you do.
Me, myself, have had experiences with seeing and talking to spirits as a medium myself. And me and my friend, Andrew, who now lives in Michigan, we still live in New York, had a kind of sort of experience like this, but it was with my 10th grade social studies teacher in high school. And Andrew obviously knew that I could see spirits before all this and all this kind of stuff. We've had plenty of interactions before this happened with spirits. My social studies teacher had a passed on grandma, and she showed herself to me in the middle of class one day. After class was over, I told Andrew about it, and he talked me into telling our teacher about it. So the next day, we waited after class. Everybody left. I told him what had happened. He told me to come back the next day, and he was going to have a picture of his grandma in his desk, and he was not going to pull it out, obviously, or anything like that. He wanted me to describe what she was wearing and what she looked like in that photo. So the following day now, at the end of class, me and Andrew waited behind and waited till everybody left, and his grandma told me exactly what she looked like in the photo, and I just repeated the words back to my teacher. He started breaking down crying, and if you knew this teacher, he would not be the one to break down crying or anything like that. He's the wrestling coach. He was a football coach for a while. Big, muscular man, just not the type you would think to break down crying. And I also told him some other things that his grandma told me, what they used to cook together. This something that he tells his son before every single baseball game, and he tells him that in the truck before they get out. So yeah, I've had my own little fair share of making people believe, and there are still skeptics and stuff like that, obviously. But it seems like this person hasn't, or this friend that the original poster hasn't quite learned how to manage it and like turn it on and off, I guess. Because I've been able to do that quite well. If I don't want to see or talk to spirits, I can. It's literally like shutting a door and not having to deal with it until I want to deal with it again. Type thing.
You've never done it for profit or anything like that, or try to make people believe.
Yeah, no, I should go back to my history teacher and be like, "Hey, man, listen, that's $200 for that experience you had 12 years ago."
Like, I know many times where I've tried to get him to tell us some stuff, and he's like, I don't know. He just doesn't want to talk about it. And then all of a sudden one day he'll come up, he's like, oh yeah, so-and-so's downstairs. I'm like, what?
Yep. Saw this person
what do you
last
mean,
night.
man?
What do you mean you saw this person? Yeah, well, I saw this person last night. So, this post has a lot of comments. So let's get into some and see what other people are thinking.
Me reading this with my ghost friend who's icing my back right now. To be honest, it's like 85% curse. I agree with that. They don't try to talk to you unless you can sense them. Your life is a lot quieter without it. Not gonna lie, most ghost stories are boring or highly traumatic. After a while, you're just like, yeah, there are ghosts everywhere. They mostly just watch people. It's pretty wild, though.
100% agree with that. It is like a curse because I could just be sitting there playing Xbox or whatever, and I see someone or I sense someone, and it's a little bit annoying. Not all the times, like this person said. They're not always trying to communicate with people. They're just wandering around sometimes. But then there is also that time where they project a message onto me, and it also all depends on how you see them. Like the original poster said, sometimes their friend sees them in like a mist form, an energy form, or sometimes you can see them just like you would see a normal person walking their dog down the street. Let's see some more of these comments here.
In a basement apartment I rented, the house was built in the 1880s. I would sense a man standing by my bed watching me sleep. It never freaked me out though. What was more annoying than anything because it would wake me up and I'd tell him to leave so I could sleep. But I had lots of supernatural stuff happen to me since I was a kid. I'm 45 now. Let's see, another one okay. Is there any reason why ghost behavior is so creepy?
Dude, it's ghosts.
Maybe something's changed when you go to the other side, but as humans, it's not usually normal behavior to stand at the end of a hallway waiting for someone or standing in a corner and just watching it.
Okay.
I keep picking up a theme with stories I hear.
Yeah.
It feels like most spirits and ghosts are just watching us, like not malevolently,
What
but
else?
it's just super weird to humans.
What else do you want them to do? I mean, they kind of are limited to a few things they can do, really.
I mean, not every ghost is going to walk up to you and grab your coffee cup and pick it up and put it to your lips.
And you don't
Be
want
like,
them
"Hey, I'm
doing
here."
that. You don't want them doing that. You would much rather let them just stare.
Ooh. Okay, so let's get into this one.
Oh, we got the skeptic here.
Yeah, so this will be a good one to kind of go piggyback off of and have a conversation. And you guys, if you're listening on Spotify, or even if you have a comment to this story and you just want to share something with us, email us at hauntedamericapodcast@gmail.com. But for those listening on Spotify, you can comment to this episode, and we just love to hear what you guys would have to say. So this commenter says, I have a sneaking suspicion it's all bullshit to an extent.
Nah.
Like, this isn't strictly real, right? The universe, at least, needs something creating it. I think ghosts are just excuses for the universe to interact with us more. Like, take this ghost sitting in the corner. I tell her, like, every day she doesn't have to hide. I guess she's not used to being seen. Okay, wait, what?
What?
Is she actually a native girl that died on my family's land or a long time ago? Sure, maybe she led me to cool stuff in the woods as a kid, at least, and kept me company. Or God, or my higher self, or my own soul decided I needed a playmate for my horrible life. Enter said awesome ghost. So basically this person's saying like the universe gave you a ghost to hang out with for your life?
Okay, I'm not fully against this idea.
Well, that wouldn't make sense because then you can't, how else would you explain me knowing my history teacher's passed on grandma, exactly what she looked like in the photo that was in his desk all day long?
Well,
how else would you expect people like Nick Groff's wife, Tessa,
Yeah.
being able to do and answer questions that she had? She's helped with murder cases and stuff before.
Right. So
Or
that goes,
Teresa Caputo. I mean, that was a TV show.
that
But
goes
who knows?
deep into the fabric of reality where your consciousness, they say, is actually creating the universe around us. So you yourself also having such a strong belief that you can see and talk to and know these things actually manifests those things in reality, because consciousness rules reality. So essentially what that person is saying isn't that far off. Maybe us looking at it as ghosts, spirits of ghosts, is just a surface level idea of what we're seeing, but what when it really is, and that doesn't mean that we're not actually seeing those people, but we're actually creating that from our consciousness and making it real in the reality that we live in. That makes sense to you.
Okay, another good comment here. But why? Why are they stuck in the in-between? Why don't they go to the afterlife? This person commented back, I get different responses from different ghosts. One loves someone, one is afraid, one thinks it can't, one doesn't want to, one likes being a ghost. But I get a sense a lot of them are lying to me. There's a reason, and I don't think they're allowed to tell me what it is.
Correct.
Technically, being a ghost is a form of afterlife. Maybe their other options aren't so great. Okay, so this comment right here, this is going to tie me into what happened in the Gwanda house upstairs in the little portal that we knew was there,
Yeah.
right? You remember, obviously, the time after your dad passed away, we had so many interactions with him, and then he said that he was moving on,
Mm-hmm.
and we felt his energy,
Yeah.
and I told you, hey, this is happening, let's go to the portal,
Oh my God.
you
I
know,
forgot
remember
about
all that?
until right now.
and you could feel his energy like crazy.
Yeah.
And it was like a countdown, and his energy just slowly shifted towards the portal, and then it was gone.
Yo.
And then interactions with your dad have significantly slowed down since then.
Oh yeah, big time.
So, and even after a ghost moves on into the afterlife, or a spirit moves on further into the afterlife, they're still around. And I just don't think their interactions with us as humans are as prevalent then. You know what I mean?
I think because in that
Like
example,
they move on, they like graduate onto a different form of
Mhm.
being a spirit type thing, is the way I see it.
and I think in that example where I was in a grieving period and I was so attached and I needed that from him, he was there to give that to me. But then after it had happened, he knew that I was going to be able to move on from there, and then that gave him freedom to then move on to that higher plane because he wasn't worried about me worrying about him anymore.
Right. And he gave you those experiences of interacting with him and stuff too, the little drum tapping and stuff like that he did to the music that you guys used to listen to, all that kind of stuff. He was a very interactive spirit right after his passing.
Very. Not much sense.
And then I want to move on to this other part of the comment. I get the sense a lot of them are lying to me, and there's a reason. I don't think they're allowed to tell me what it is.
Absolutely.
You will.
They can't tell you everything.
You could be talking to the most interactive spirit ever, with whether it be in forms of tapping communication, in forms of the flashlight trick that you can do, SB7 spirit boxes, all that stuff. They can be answering every single question you have, and then you can ask them, "Is there a real God? Is there?" You know what I mean?
Yeah, you won't get that
and
answer.
you won't get that kind of answer.
No.
There are just some things that I think spirits know they are not allowed to answer,
Yeah.
which makes you believe
There's definitely rules.
there's rules for some reason of being a spirit, of being dead. There are rules even after you're dead.
and this
It's
is
just
coming
weird to think
from
about.
someone who can talk to and see spirit. He could ask him anything at all,
And
even
every
he can't get those
every other
answers.
medium and stuff like that I've known and that I've talked to
Yeah.
or read about, all of us are the same. You cannot get these answers.
Nope.
And you don't even have to be a medium to know that you can't get these answers, because like I just said, you can be talking through a conventional piece of paranormal equipment to a spirit that communicates so well with you.
Mm-hmm.
And you ask a certain question and most of them do not answer. Or they'll say they can't or something like that, right?
Unless it's a malevolent spirit, and then it'll give you some creepy, crazy answer.
And
mocking
also
answer.
for you, there are people on YouTube that do these fake ass, like big ass spirit box sessions with like passed on celebrities,
Oh, I hate
and they're like,
those.
"Oh, what is the afterlife
I
like?"
hate
And
'em.
then you hear this. God is great. And it's the fakest thing. If you guys get sucked in to that type, that is so fake.
Yeah. I know.
there's more
exactly
faking
what it
going on with that than there is Ghost Adventures now.
is. Yeah.
It is ridiculous how many of these people just fake answers, and they type out the chat that they type out the sentence they want spoken through the spirit box.
Yeah.
And then it goes through their computer and then into the spirit box, and it comes out all mumble jumbled, literally exactly like this. And then they'll
Jimi Hendrix is still here. What?
Yeah, they'll put captions under there,
Yeah.
and it's Jimi Hendrix says, "God is great. The afterlife is so wonderful."
Yeah.
And
They're not gonna
motherfucker, there is no way
Nope.
that you're talking with every passed on celebrity.
Yeah. You're some
that
nobody,
dies.
and Jimi Hendrix is coming to talk to you.
And then the people in the comments are like, "Oh my gosh, what a great experience."
I know. I know they fall for it.
Like,
so
no,
easy.
you think Michael Jackson's gonna come through and talk to you sitting in your freaking basement?
the Illuminati really killed me?
Like, come on now. I just had to get that off my chest, because that seeing stuff like that pisses me off, and people get sucked into it. And
It's because you
the
want to
most fake-
believe those so
That is
much.
the most fake thing, and it's so obvious that it's fake, and it's cringy.
It is.
Let's see here. Looking at some more of these comments. My mother did once have a freezing breeze go through her sideways near a staircase where most of our paranormal stuff was happening. Like if it were normal, it would have re-happened, but it didn't. So this commenter is saying, most of their paranormal stuff happened in this one area of this house. That could be where the quote-unquote portal or whatever, where the spirits enter and leave your house.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Ooh, this one right here. Okay. Most of us have the ability to see/sense ghosts and are unfazed by it. Only a few seek to profit from it. The rest just accept it as one of our quote-unquote talents, like being a musician or artist. Also, like many talents, a lot has to do with heredity. Most truly psychic people have relatives with similar or allied abilities. So for me, my grandpa could see and talk to spirits. And once, it's a long story. I believe we talked about it before. But after the picture was taken and there was the spirit behind me, and I told him some of the experiences I had with spirits and all that stuff, he would start telling me about my passed on great grandma and great grandpa, and what they were saying, and all this other kind of stuff. And he helped me hone in my quote unquote third eye, and be able to talk to these spirits more efficiently, I guess. So that has something to do with that. Normally people that have this ability have people in their family or people around them that can do the same thing. Anything else you want to add? There's a lot of comments, and I'm not scrolling through all
Yeah,
these.
there's like 600 comments, 689 comments.
This is a crap ton. Anything else you want to add? I think we pretty much got all that off our
That's
chest.
pretty good there.
Alrighty, let's get out of here. So thank you guys for joining us for this episode of Haunted America. Until next time, I am your host, Dalton Taylor,
And I'm Jess Trapasso.
and we'll catch you guys on the next episode of
Haunted America.